All right, so let's go over a setup that you can use to improve your hip internal rotation mobility. Now this is an open chain strategy, meaning that I'm going to be moving my femur on my pelvis. I'll layer in a little bit of pelvis on femur stuff here, but what we're going to do is we're going to need a box, we're going to need a stick, and we're going to set ourselves up with our working hip up on the box. What I'm going to do to assess what I have currently in terms of my active hip internal rotation is see how far I can spin my femur inwards such that my foot comes out to the side without any change in my pelvis position. So I don't want my pelvis to kind of hike up and lean off to the side. I want to keep my butt cheek or my sit bone just as it is on the box right now as I spin that thigh inwards. Now I don't expect you to get this high. You don't need this much hip internal rotation for most people. I have more than enough here. Most people are probably going to be down here, especially if you're working on a deficit, meaning if you're coming to me doing this exercise because it's limited for you already. Don't be discouraged if you don't get your foot here. You probably don't need this much range of motion. Depends on you. But see what you have currently. Then you're going to take your stick, and you've got a few different options here. You can block yourself here if you've got a long enough stick that you can get full contact with the front of your shin. Awesome. If you can't, you also have the option of just supporting your foot there and having the rest of the stick either in front of or even on top of your knee here. Now, I could either get deeper into this stretch in two different ways. So I've got two options here. I can either use the stick to bring my foot up a little bit higher to get into that stretch, or I could leave it where it was. So let's say this is my active range, and I can take my pelvis and move it on my femur. Both are accomplishing the same thing, but often this one's a little bit easier. So I can then take my sit bone and try and sit it down on the box a little bit more and even turn towards my back foot a little bit and kind of lean that way, take my belly button, spin it off to that side to get into that stretch. So you have both options available to you. Do whatever feels best for you. I'm fine with both. And then we're going to hang out here in our passive stretch for the prescribed period of time. For most people, it's 2 to 3 minutes, but if you're doing this exercise because I gave it to you, make sure that you look at your sheet and see what I've prescribed for you on your sheet. So you would spend that time here. Now, if we're going to follow it with PAILs and rails, if you don't know what PAILs and rails are, I have another video on that. I'll link it in this video so that you can watch it if you need to know, if that's news to you. And what we're going to do for PAILs and rails is we're going to start by trying to get ourselves out of the stretch, but without actually moving at all because it's an isometric. So I'll keep myself here, and I'm going to slowly think about trying to rotate out of the stretch. So you might want to hang on to the stick with your left hand. You might want to hang on to it with the right hand. You might want to hang on with both. But what I'm going to attempt to do is think about trying to spin out of that stretch without actually moving at all. So that stick is going to keep me here. And I'm going to progressively work up to the prescribed intensity, effort, and hold that for the prescribed period of time. Again, check your sheet. Then you're going to reverse. You're then going to spin your thigh the other way back into internal rotation to try and get yourself deeper into a stretch. But do not let your pelvis move at all as you do so. So you're then going to think, spin that thigh inwards as if trying to lift your foot off of that object without letting your knee move. So it's like your thigh is a skewer and we're just spinning it. And we're going to dive into all this lateral hip stuff. Now, the alternative to that is you can also, and you can do a mix of these two things as well, do the same thing that you did to get into the stretch. So when you switch and you do your rails contraction, instead of making that foot lighter, you also have the option of trying to pull that pelvis and move it on your femur. So trying to take my tailbone, rotate it towards that side, stay heavy on that butt cheek, and you can use that strategy as well, or you can use a combination of the two. Make the foot lighter on the stick and at the same time try and turn that way. So you get femur on pelvis and pelvis on femur at the same time. And that would be how we would do our stretch and our PAILs and our rails here. Now, if we wanted to follow that with some end range options, let's say we're doing something like passive range holds. What we're going to do in this instance is we'll set up the same way. We've got ourselves on our box. We're going to find our current active range. So see how far you can rotate actively. Let's say this is it here, and this is all I've got for active range. I'm then going to take my stick, get it underneath my foot, use it to pull my foot up higher, and then I'm going to try and solidify myself here. So before I remove my stick support, I'm going to find those same muscles that I used for my rails effort. Think about making my foot lighter on the stick, trying to pull my belly button towards that side, solidify my body in space, make sure that nothing moves. and attempt to keep it that way as I pull that stick out. Now you might get a little bit of a drop there, and that's okay. Just fight to minimize it. So when you've got that support there and you remove it, again, don't be discouraged if your foot drops a little bit, but I want you to try and slow that down and minimize it to the smallest degree possible, such that your foot doesn't drop all the way back down. It only drops a little bit. You're gonna catch it as soon as you can. You're gonna hold that for the prescribed period. And again, repeat that for the number of sets or reps written on your sheet prescribed to you. And that would be passive range holds done in the exact same position after PAILs rails and after your stretch. Whenever you watch one of my videos, make sure to check the description below the video, because I'll always drop links to related videos, links to exercises that would go well with the one that you just finished watching, links to free mobility classes, ebooks, and to my ever-growing library of full-length training videos. Additionally, if you found this specific video helpful, please let me know by hitting the like button below, and that'll send me the message that you want to see more videos like this one. You can also subscribe to be notified when new videos like this one are available. And if there's something specific that you want to see a video on, just let me know in the comments below and we'll try and make that happen. Otherwise, take care and we'll see you in the next one.